Welcome back to the YouTube channel. This is where we're talking about your personal finances and how I do it. So I'm getting a lot of questions about why to buy. So when I look at my house, I purchased a house in 2020 and right during that big dip of COVID, where people didn't really buy and interest rates were kind of low and the market was kind of dead before it took off. And so we sold our house with people that we actually knew over dinner. And so it was a lot different than I would do today. So a little bit on the math side of the story. So we spent about $300,000 to buy that house, and our mortgage with property taxes and everything is about $3,000. It's a $800,000 house that we bought, 800,000 with 300, so we had a $500,000 mortgage. So now there's a bunch of interesting stuff that can add up. So check this out. If we are taking the $300,000 and rent a similar $800,000 house in my area, the weekly or monthly rent would be about $4,500. So when you look at $4,500, that would be about 66 months that I could rent for free with my $300,000. So I can get 66 months. That's about 5.6 years free of renting. So something really beautiful happens when you start running the numbers like that, because you're not going to spend the 66 months all at once. So you spend $4,500. And while you have that, you can have that other money grow. Those $300,000 that's used for that down payment might grow in an account that gives you way better returns than your house ever would. So what do I say about that? It's oh, if you have stocks or something else that pays you way better, why even do it? Because when you look at it, yeah, I could have gotten 5.6 months of free, 55, something like that, 55 months, almost 6 years, over with free living. But then I was like, buying a house, once you buy one, that's why. Once you buy one, you gotta have to pay a gain tax. What is it? Capital gains tax, in order to, if you want to roll it into another one, when you. So no, let me rephrase this. So once you bought the first house and you want to, you're like, oh, I made $200,000 over a few years or whatever, you got that a huge appreciation. So now if you want to cash that out, there is a problem, because you have to pay capital gains on it, or you roll it into another one, into another primary residence, and you kind of tax exempt. I think every 2 years you could do something like it and roll it into a bigger and better house. So there are so many ways of looking at it, because I'm getting questions like this one right here that says, hey, should I buy? I make $66,000 a year and I have all these expenses, and it's going to be $1,300 a month for me to buy. I live in, I don't know where they live. It depends where they're gonna, where they're gonna end up to. But this person, I would not recommend buying a house. Why? Because yes, you get that appreciation. You might or you might not. Condos are harder to sell than a single family houses. Always will be. Why? I don't know, because maybe you have neighbors upstairs, downstairs. I don't know. But this is from this comment right here. That's a huge deal to go from about $800 to $1,300. And I think if you want to take that step, you should now start putting away $1,300 and put the difference from 800 to 1,300, it's about $500, into a high yield savings account to see if you can even do it. But actually, you should put more into that savings account. It should probably be about $700 a month, because if your fridge is going to go out, you have to buy a new fridge. If your plumbing goes out, you got to do that. If you have other stuff breaking, you got to do that. And when you're renting, you don't have to do it. Yes, you get a nicer place. It's more gorgeous. You have more flexibility, but it doesn't really help you out that much, right? So I'm interested to see, more into it, because buying a house is an emotional is an emotional process. It's not just something that you do just because you want to do it. Because when I think about it, it's like there's price. It goes beyond pricing. What I'm trying to say is because you can buy a house and the numbers all match up, but when you can rent somewhere closer to family, or you can buy something that's closer to family, that is huge also. And how can you put a price tag on staying close to family, doing all that? Maybe you have a very interesting outdoorsy activity life. So there's people out there that are out and about all the time. And then there's these people that love to be a homebody. And so for these people that love to be a homebody, home ownership might really make sense just because they're a homebody. And other people that are never home, like if I lived in New York, I don't know if I would buy or if I would rent maybe a 1-bedroom apartment, or, live with somebody else, because there's so many great things to do and you can be out and about all the time. So why do you really want to go down that route of owning when you're like never home just to get the appreciation? Yeah, you can do that in the stock market. You can find other investments that will pay you probably better than real estate does, and you don't have the fluctuations of insurance and all that. So it's interesting though, once you buy, because you want to be in a 55 plus community. I don't know if they have rentals like that where you can rent in a 55 plus community. I don't know. I'm obviously not 55 yet, so I don't know about that, but I know about places where you can buy that you need to be 55 and older to buy. And the people that I bought the house from moved into a 55 plus community. And so when you look at these 55 plus communities, it's really interesting, because how can you put a price tag on community? So if you're 65 and you're like, I'm going to go into this retirement community and I have friends there, we go and, we play pickleball in the morning, we meet at the pool, at the community pool at lunch, and at nighttime we play poker. How can you argue with that of paying more than when you rent someplace? Maybe they have that with rentals too. I don't know. I'm super interested to know. Let me know in the comments. But it's more, there's more aspects to buying versus renting that are so intricate. They're so difficult to decipher, and it's such a personal choice that, no one size fits all. And people say to me like, yeah, it's never worth buying. You might be right. In your case scenario, it might be, but in somebody else's case, yeah. If that's what you want to do and have movie nights and just be a homeowner and be proud of that, you should do it. I'm not here telling you not to. I'm just saying that there's a bunch of things that you need to consider when you're going to pull the trigger. Because at the end of the day, you can and you will get dinged if you buy too short. So when you look at statistics, how long people stay in a house, or before they sell, it's about 8 years. And that's about how old my house is after it went to a transaction. And when you do that beforehand, the market has to appreciate a lot, or you need to do heavily improvements in order for that to work out. Because if you're not going to go out and do these improvements and make that money, realtor transactions are expensive. Title company, title insurance, realtor costs. So it can get really expensive really quick. And it might not be that you made any money if you own your house for 2 years. So when you look at the mortgage, like the ramp where how you pay down your mortgage, it makes really an impact on your mortgage debt and on the interest after 13 years. So after the year 13, you're paying more down the principal than the interest. So you need to be there for 8+ years. And some Americans, so you can't really find like real good studies on, like, oh, you do, like Americans usually do this and then they move, or, they stay in their house for 2 years. Because if you're a career enthusiast and you want to make it out in the world, and, like you want to be into, really into your career, and you want to grow, you want to grow up the ladder, you should not rent. You should work, rent someplace, and then if there's a better opportunity at house and to the next town, you move to the next town. And if you want to, move to another state because somebody offered you better opportunity every 2 years, you should definitely not buy just to have the house for 2 years and then move on. Only if you can move inside the company and then move from spot to spot and kind of move up the ranks that way. But when it's not internal, you should not buy, because realtor costs and taxes and fees are just too much. You're better off just renting, and then you're month to month afterwards, and you can just skedaddle if a new opportunity comes and just run that other direction. So let me know what you think about this video. Let me know in the comments, and I will talk to you later.